Would you look at that? He's back. It's the Sleepers Podcast, Friday, October 20th, coming to you live from the counterintelligence military grade offices of Michigan football. Listen, investigations are happening. We love investigations here. We love drama. It's the most dramatic rivalry in sports, college sports at least. Michigan State. It's a Rivalry Friday. It's also a Riley Friday, we think, but Riley is currently feeding his son a bottle. So he told us to start the episode without him. We are wholly unprepared. Carter has a flight in like 20 minutes. So this episode could go a variety of ways, but we thank you for being here with us regardless. Carter, it's great to see your face, and it's great that you don't hate me after yesterday's roast.
No, I don't hate you at all. And I thought yesterday it gave me a nice little chuckle as I decompressed from hiking up mountains and going in all the crevices and natural parts of Earth. But some things do have to be addressed before we get into this episode in regards to the people who participated in the roast. Eli, in your Tinder bio, you have to put in there specifically that you don't like amusement parks. And that's not because you don't like roller coasters. It's because you're not tall enough to go on any of them. Tristan, you're shaped like about 50% of middle school lunch ladies. Riley, I'll leave you alone, but I will go. I'll do a combined one for you and Theo. Theo, you're shaped like in about 20-something years, you're going to end every threat to anybody with, my father's going to hear about this.
I did not expect you to come after Theo. Oh my God.
I mean, I did you not hear those? You heard him, right? He wasn't quiet during that whole thing.
He was going off.
He chimed in. I heard it. I went back and listened. He was participating.
He was going off. I think you get the honor of saying you're the first person to insult Theo in his life. I'm sure not many insults have been thrown his way thus far, so that's great. No words for me, my friend. I'm kind of the one who coordinated all this.
Oh, no. I'm saving it for you because there's going to be one day. There's going to be one day where you're going to have to take a little break. And I'm not doing any radio comments either. We're going to have an hour 30 and we're going to go year by year and it's going to be an absolute roast. No guest either.
So I love that. I think that should be the thing. If one of us can't make an episode and the other one wants to do it, it should turn into a full-blown roast. Yesterday was fun. Thank you to everybody in the Discord who contributed to yesterday's episode, because the second half of the episode was almost... who am I kidding? It wasn't as fun, but it was almost as fun as the Carter Elliott roast portion. A lot of great questions. In fact, we're going to do a couple responses today to a few comments that we have. We don't have as many as normal, but we have a few in here. And one of them is along the lines of, can we do more of the voice response questions? We absolutely can do that. We can set up a time, maybe like once a month minimum, where we make sure we do that. And we do that with Carter as well. But we would now like to welcome Father of the Year, Riley Davis, to the show. Riley, I would like you to know that Carter literally just insulted your son.
I mean, that's par for the course. He did roast them in the roast of Carter Elliott. So I expected our PR team, our family PR team, will draft up something by this afternoon. So, but listen, we're not going to back down from adversity. We don't just like retreat back into the shell. Again, I'm like hardly leaving my house while I'm on paternity leave. So some could say I'm already in the shell, but that's not characteristic of this family. So it will not be tolerated. But I do like the hoodie, Cart. I'll start with a compliment. I'll take the higher road.
Thanks.
I'm still waiting for my overtime care package. Only said that like 3 times on this program. So yeah, maybe this will be the boost that overtime needs to set up the ACC correspondent too. But it's a nice little fit you got going on today, Cart.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do must say before we get into this though, is that you never underestimate what a good webcam and a good ring light can do. Because my 2014 MacBook webcam is on its last leg. And I've attended almost every episode I've done on this trip looking like a Dateline episode, looking like, I need to conceal my identity. And I'm not here for that because 1, I want to be seen. And 2, the people need to see me. Okay. I got I got a nice face. I want my face to be seen. Damn it. So when I return, the ring light's going to be doing numbers. Okay. I'm talking Nikola Jokic MVP type numbers. So, and I can't wait.
Man said, I got a nice face. That's a historic quote from Carter. Yeah, you do look like you've just been podcasting from the room that Jim Harbaugh locks his spy assistants in. So that's nice. Anyways, look, Riley says he has topics. Of course he does. Riley Davis is prepared. And he's also now like an official podcaster. Like you've obviously been doing podcast appearances for years at this point, but now you have your own podcast. And from what I've heard, week one's been going pretty well. So congratulations on that. But I was going to quote tweet. I think it was the Field of 68 account itself had like the live episode yesterday, and I just happened to catch it at the right time, right when it came out. And I had a quote tweet written up that said, I think that one of these two is extremely handsome and one isn't, but I'll never tell them which one is which. And I thought that would really get in Jacob's head, so I didn't do it. But that was that's in the drafts right
now. Please do. Next live broadcast, let it fly.
Rocket. How's the podcast going though? I've listened to both episodes. They've both been fantastic.
No, I appreciate that. It's been going well. We had a lot of people tuned in for the live broadcast last night. I think at one point there was over 500 in there, which kind of exceeded my expectations. The little Goodman quote tweet really got people popping in there. In the live chat, it was a lot of Dookie saying like, oh, UNC sucks. Duke's going to sweep them, which like, whatever. Congrats on sweeping us last year when we literally had a team that didn't like each other and missed the tournament. So like, if that's what you're hanging your hat on, cool. But yeah, I've been enjoying doing it. I've been enjoying talking about the Heels, and I know I've kind of said throughout the summer and into the fall that I'm not getting my hopes up for this UNC team. I didn't rank them in our Almanac poll. I want them to prove it to me, but I don't know. It's like the more I talk about it, the more I even talk with y'all about the Heels, the more and more they're like pulling me back in and getting me to buy in that this team is going to be pretty good. I don't know. I still don't want to jinx it. So
yeah, well, if you want to hear Riley's full thoughts on his Tar Heels, you can certainly do that. What's the name of the pod now? Because he changed it.
Yeah, it's The Pod is the Roof. A little homage to Michael Jordan in 2017 when he famously said the ceiling is the roof, and then we won the national championship.
How much did you debate the pod is the roof versus the ceiling is the pod?
I don't like the ceiling as the pod. I like Jacob threw out the ceiling as the roof, which I didn't just like that as a podcast name. I thought it needed to be a little bit different. And the first thing that I said, like just kind of jokingly afterwards, was how about the ceiling as the pod? But I think, Greg, it might have been you who said the podcast is the roof, or it might have been Cart. One of y'all threw out that idea. Which also the funniest part about the ceiling is the roof is, MJ really only shows up to Chapel Hill when he can promote his brand. And kind of just like show up and be like, yeah, I'm Michael Jordan, like clap for me. And when he said that phrase, it was at halftime of a basketball game when he was announcing that the Jordan brand would be sponsoring the football team. Like it was literally just a brand announcement. At the time, Larry Fedora was the coach. So he's out there with MJ, like wearing a medium shirt showing off the biceps, like like clapping as MJ's talking about the jump man on our football stuff now. But
you're talking to two schmedium shirt experts here. So
always size down.
Yeah, we respect that. But yeah, and look at you now. Now you got Drake May. Now you're undefeated. Now I have $1 million futures parlay that depends on your Tar Heels. That's a scary proposition. By the way, we've talked about it briefly on the show, but I have this 10-leg preseason football futures parlay that I used a $100 free bet on to win $1 million, $1.1 million. If 4 teams win their conference championship game and then 6 NFL division winners play out. Right now, 8 of the 10 are like big betting favorites. And the 2 that are up in the air is North Carolina and the Bills are currently underdogs to the Dolphins. So there's a real chance this happens. I went back last night to see like what would the odds be if I placed it today. It would be $100 to win $50,000 today. It was $100 to win $1 million before the season. Dang. So
wait, isn't Bama's still the underdog too, though?
Bama is in it. They're an underdog, but
the like 2 historic football powers.
Yeah, I like
Alabama and UNC.
They're an underdog. Oklahoma's also in it, but I'm not taking Texas seriously as a threat. Anyways, we'll have updates on that. I got to write the newsletter also. I might write about that in the newsletter today, so stay tuned. Let's get to the show though, because Cart has a flight sometime in the next 50 minutes. I don't know when he's going to abandon us. And Riley has a baby that could also make him leave at any time. So let's do comments quickly. We don't have too many from yesterday's show, but I do want to make sure that we get to Chris, who is new to the Discord. We told him we would have a comment for him today. So Chris says, Greg, thanks for the mention at the end of the podcast. Coolest thing that's happened to me this week. I wanted to do a quick follow-up on my comment last night. Obviously, this is all hypothetical, but what impact would a Jeremy Fears commitment have on this team? Jeremiah Fears commitment have on this team? He's talking to Illinois. We spent all offseason saying we were fine at point, and Rodgers is the guy. Given Underwood's track record of transfers, does Rodgers get sick of being moved around and leaves? I think a Fears/DGL backcourt with Dane, Merez, Hansberry frontcourt would be nasty, but does Rodgers move back to his natural spot as a 3? Do we grab a wing or two from the portal? Thanks. Carter, what do you think?
So just to correct me if I'm wrong on this, G, did he mention that DGL and Jeremiah Fears would be in the same backcourt?
That is what he's projecting. If Fears were to commit to Illinois, that would be his hope.
Okay, I see that. So I'm in a hard place with this one because I hate being the don't take good players or don't take this player because you have set player. Like, you always want talent on your basketball team. I don't think that should ever be an issue. But in my head, with the way that Illinois team is set up, if Jeremiah Fears was to commit, wouldn't Dre Gibbs Lawhorn go elsewhere? Like that's what I think would happen with this basketball team. And would that be necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. I really like Jeremiah Fears. I think he's kind of like the Fears family members seem to do, has gotten better and better throughout his, high school and AAU years. And now he's kind of really coming into his own. And I think he would be really good with Illinois, and it'd be really fun to watch him play Jeremy a couple times a year in the Big Ten. But I don't think Ty would leave either. I think Ty would actually be pretty open, or actually welcoming, to going back to more of his natural position as kind of like a wing or a 3 position. And I think that's where he would look best for the Illinois team as well. But because Ty Rodgers, I see him as a great team guy, as a, do anything for the men in Champaign. He would play the point guard position like Brad wants him to. But I think naturally having him as a wing would make Illinois a better team. Like, if you give me a lineup of, okay, let's go ahead and go. Let's say they get Jeremiah Fears. Give me Jeremiah Fears. Not going to pencil in DGL at the 2. We'll figure out who else is at the 2. And then you have Ty Rodgers at the 3, and then like Merez at the 4, and Hansberry at the 5, or Dane at the 5 if he comes back. I think that'd be a really, really good basketball team, and I'd buy a lot of stock in it. But I think what Illinois fans need to worry about is, if they do get Jeremiah Fears, what kind of domino effect would that have on Dre Gibbs Lawhorn? Because I don't think it would go as smoothly as people think. Couple
quick things from my perspective on this. I wouldn't pencil DGL into anything at all. That's not meant to be too harsh. Sorry, Mama Gibbs Lawhorn, but I just would. If you're looking at like this team's lineup in December, I wouldn't pencil him into that. Let's see how it goes for a month. But like projecting a year out with Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, I think is a failed exercise for a bazillion different reasons. With Ty Rodgers, it is interesting because it all depends on how this year goes, right? Like, if Ty actually is good and is like a 30-minute point guard for Illinois, then I assume he would play that again next season, even if you get Jeremiah Fears. I don't know that it would necessarily like push him back to a natural position. Like, if Ty Rodgers is just good with this opportunity he's been given, I think it's kind of the keys are in his hands. I am skeptical that's going to happen. I think I've said it on the show a bunch of times. I just don't think he's a point guard. And when you now talk about like, okay, we're going to spend all this year asking Ty to play point guard, and then next year we're going to totally switch it and give up and say it's not working, and let's move him to small forward. Can Ty Rodgers play the 3 if he's playing next to 2 non-shooters at the 4 and the 5? Like, Coleman Hawkins leaves this team next year. Is anyone on the team going to be able to shoot? Like, at a certain point, and this is not meant to just be a criticism of Ty's game, but like, you have to be very specific in the pieces you surround him with if he's going to be a big minutes guy. And to me, the best case roster for Ty Rodgers, if you were starting with Ty Rodgers and building around him, would be you're playing him at the 4 with a stretch 5 and shooting everywhere else. Like, I think that could work. But Coleman Hawkins is going to leave, and on paper, none of the other Illinois bigs are stretch guys. So point is, let's get through this year first. Let's not project too far into the future. But if we are playing the projection game, there's a lot of names in here I would not include. Like, I don't think Ty Rodgers' decision to leave would not be because Jeremiah Fears is bumping him out. it would just be because he failed this year. Like that would be the scenario where Ty leaves, right? It's just he's a disaster this year. Not that he'd be like good at leaves, right?
Yeah, I do like Ty Rodgers at the 4. And the one thing I'll push back on is I don't necessarily think they would need a 5 that can stretch the floor like that. Like if you just give me Ty Rodgers and then any option at the 5 that I think Illinois will have, and I think they will have options. That's one thing I don't think they got to worry about. Dane can come back. Hansberry will have another year under his belt. I think Mraz Johnson's one of the best players in the country coming in. I think he's gonna be a monster. So they'll be set there. So if they're able to have like Ty at the 4 and one of those guys at the 5, and then just surround him with playmaking, shooting, wings, and guards, I think they'd be okay. Like I'd buy stock in that lineup.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm just like literally getting grossed by the idea of Ty at the 3 with 2 non-shooters next to him.
Yeah.
Like
also, I'm placing a plus 270 bet that Dane Danger ends his career as a stretch 5. Like he'll shoot close to 30% from 3.
I'll give you those odds, and I like those odds. I'll bet that with you. All right. Hopefully, we gave you a good first answer to your first career comment, Chris. You're 1 for 1. Please keep them coming, and thank you for joining the Discord. We greatly appreciate you, my friend. Travis Nelson just throws some positivity out. He says, awesome episode today. Shout out to the guests and the sleepwalkers. Come back soon, big fella. Carter Elliott.
Listen, there's a couple of people commenting saying that I'm letting go of the blue collar mindset. And I just want to let that be known. That's not the case. I am committed. I am all in on Sleepers Media, and I will be until the day I die.
Okay. I mean, this felt like a little bit of a holdout situation. I will say that. Like speaking for Sleepers Media upper management here, you do have to earn it again. Like this is kind of a James Harden situation. Now it's Friday, and you want to show up for Friday. Like,
okay, yeah. Well, Greg, just let this be known. If I ever do have a holdout, it's gonna be a circus. Okay, it's not gonna be one of those quiet holdouts where I'm waiting in the background. Like I'm gonna be making, statements. I'm gonna be doing petty things. I'm gonna be wearing like other podcast hats, like getting caught in I don't know, doing my grocery shopping. It's gonna be some petty stuff going on. Just know that if there's a holdout.
We actually would be really, really good at manufactured drama. Like if you and I wanted to plan out like a month-long feud online, and deep down we weren't actually feuding, but I think we could do some very creative things with that. Let's think about that for next offseason.
I think it would be hilarious if Cart showed up on like the field of 68 after dark wearing a fat suit as part of his whole.
I'm just glad you said I had to wear a fat suit. That really meant a lot to me. Thank you.
Melba is in the comments saying, great episode today. It's fun to mix things up now and then. Maybe the call-in segment can become a reoccurring thing. I'm totally in on that. Said it at the top. If we want to do that like once a month, absolutely. That was really fun. I would like to do it with Cart present. I think, as much fun as I had just sort of giving my own answers to it, I certainly missed the big fella during that portion of the show. So let us know. Let us know what you think the cadence should be for that. I'm kind of thinking once a month is the good move, though. Jay Meisner was actually helping Chris out. He was telling him to tag us. So Jay Meisner, thanks for sort of helping moderate on the fly in the Discord. Also shout out to Coy, best Discord moderator on the world. Scrolling
down... Coy's the moderator now? Coy's doing big things, man. What a great fan.
The community's special, Riley. I'm not gonna lie. Like we got like 56 paid members, I think, right now, almost 130 that have like joined, but not all have paid. But like there's a lot of positivity, a lot of real kindness going on in this Discord. Tristan Busting Brackets of Carter Elliott roast fame says, question for Riley Davis. When y'all gonna stop Rick Pitino from stealing y'all recruits? Have some pride.
For one, Ian Jackson scheduled an official visit to UNC 3 weeks from now, November 3rd. This broke yesterday. Pitino's not getting Ian Jackson. He can go be old and decrepit up in Queens where no one outside of New York City cares about the program. When's the last time St. John's even made a tournament where they weren't in the first 4? Do we have to go back to like honestly, do we need to go back to like when Chris Mullins was there? Like, was that the last time they did something in an NCAA tournament?
Wait. Are we bashing missing the tournament now?
Yeah, you can do that when you miss the tournament like once every 2 decades.
Okay. I thought this was a pro missed the tournament podcast today, at least.
I mean, for us two, maybe last year it was. I'm definitely pro like skipping the NIT if you don't make the tournament. I will co-sign that. But once again, when you got banners, you can miss the tournament every once in a while.
The privilege card, the privilege.
The privilege is crazy, but also Tristan just talks so spicy for being a Pitt fan. Like you would think he'd have some type of just like, I don't know, self-realization that his basketball team is the Pitt Panthers. Like, what are we doing here? They haven't been anything since Levance Fields, and he was shaped like Raymond Felt in 2023.
I'm disgusted I didn't use Levance Fields in yesterday's roast. That would have been so good. Tristan's portion of the roast yesterday got a lot of love, by the way, including a text to me in the morning from Rob Doster, where Rob said, "I can't believe you didn't ask me to do the Carter Elliott roast."
Thank God.
I also, this is literally what I responded to Rob. I said, to be honest, I used your name in negotiations with the people we brought on the show. Like I told like Eli, Riley, and Tristan that Rob was going to do it. And then I never asked Rob. The reason I didn't ask Rob is because Rob called me Wednesday, like afternoon. It was like, "Hey, I need your help with something. Can you make a video comparing every Big 12 basketball coach to what dog they would be?" I said, "Rob, what are you like? What? This is totally out of the blue. What are you doing?" And then he was like, "Yeah, like I think it was Kelvin Sampson said like his first impression of Big 12 is everybody's dogs. So I think that'd be hilarious." And then I started thinking about it. And I was like, I don't think I want to compare black coaches to dogs, Rob. So
very smart.
How about we squash that? But yeah, Rob never responded after asking me to do that. So he didn't get to join the roast. But know that Rob wanted to join the roast, and Rob's favorite part of the roast was Tristan Freeman's part.
Okay, yeah, Tristan's was pretty funny. The weight comparisons at the end were pretty funny. But he also did name some like college like hoopers, like some dudes that were really nasty, which I appreciated. He's also still shaped like he asked, "You forgot the pickles." So let's keep that in perspective.
Keep it moving. I just enjoyed every successive time that and more importantly dropped in Tristan's part. It was just great comedic delivery. We have 3 more comments today. Keith Johnson 32 has a little more praise. He says, "Greg's roast of Cart was an amazing comedic masterpiece. I refuse to believe he made that in one day. Also, finding out Cart is a Nepo baby connects a few dots for me."
I can't believe I got compared to Jace Howard. That's insane.
I mean, aren't we pro nepotism at this point? I feel like we've all had enough nepotism in our lives in various ways.
We are, but I think that part of nepotism is like you're just getting fired up to the top. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're skipping steps. I wish I was a nepotism baby because I didn't get to skip steps. And that's not fair. I feel like as the son, I should have been able to skip some steps, didn't get to skip steps, which is bullshit, by the way. So I'm like a half nepotism baby, but I'll take it.
I mean, that's just part of the B- job your parents did raising you, right?
Exactly. Honestly, thinking about that, might have to round down. Not a math podcast.
Fam says, "Happy Bluffs Friday to all who celebrate." For Riley, what needs to happen for UNC to make the playoff? For the panel, favorite tailgate food? Car and I will think about our tailgate food while Riley answers what needs to happen for the Tar Heels to make the playoff.
Okay, biggest thing that needs to happen is just this coaching staff needs to get its clock management together. That's kind of been a recurring theme in the Mac Brown era, is like going into the half, getting the ball back with like a minute left, 2 timeouts, and you just let the clock run out even though you have Drake May. There's other times like we mismanaged the end of the first half against Miami last week where we got the ball back with a minute and a half. And I think we had 2 timeouts, didn't run the ball once, just threw it like 3 times, didn't get a first down, had a punt. Miami got a field goal. That's honestly my biggest concern with this team. I think the defense has good depth along the D line. Linebackers are good. Secondary is a little bit shaky, but I think like our front 7 can make up for it. Tez Walker's back. He's cooking with Drake. Like, if you watch the game against Miami, you saw how special he is. Like, so yeah, it really just comes down to those little things that haven't cost us yet. But I think we end the season with home for Duke, then at Clemson, at NC State. And I know NC State is like god awful this year, but every time we play, it doesn't matter how bad the other team is, it ends up being a close game. So those are those 3 games where it's like we could very well be entering those last 3 7-0, or excuse me, I guess that'd be 9-0, not a math podcast. But that's where like when you get into crunch time there, that's where you got to have your clock management and your coaches like on top of their game.
Great answer. Carter, favorite tailgate food?
So I'm gonna go two ways here. If I'm just like at let's say like a Lions game tailgate or any type of tailgate in the Detroit area, I think the GOAT tailgate food's a hot dog, to be honest. Like I need a dog and I need to dress it up with relish and mustard and ketchup. I love a good dog at a tailgate, but more specifically, the all-time GOAT one, which is more specific to East Lansing, is just a 50-piece, 100-piece of cracked chicken.
Yep.
Like it's an absolute necessity. I'm not attending a tailgate, to be honest, if I'm not provided or given the option to bring cracked chicken. It's the best ever. If anybody's in the East Lansing area or Lansing area for a tailgate, make sure you attend a tailgate that has cracked chicken available. It's top tier.
Yep, that's the answer. That was my answer. I'm glad you got there. By the way, I will be in East Lansing for Michigan State tomorrow. Again, my role Saturday is just to make sure everybody plays fair, plays by the rules. Just want to get in and out. Have a nice little football contest, respect the game, respect each other. So I'll be there trying to help that out. If anybody wants to tailgate, let's do it. I think we might make our way to the pub. I found out some people refer to Roadhouse Pub as Roadhouse. I've never done that. I've just called it the pub. So I will be at the pub at some point. And if we want to do a little Discord meetup with anybody in East Lansing, let me know. I would love that. Final comment of the day is from Booby, who, listen, I don't want to put pressure on Ulamog, who gets to name the Sleepwalker of the Week every week. But Booby is in the running for Sleepwalker of the Week this week. I mean, this man put up prolific numbers. I feel like he averaged like 32 and 12 this week out of nowhere. Just giving us his favorite player of the day, making a graphic every single day. Incredible stuff from Booby. His player of the day is Davidson small forward Reed Bailey. The upcoming sophomore is in for a big year. 6'11", stretch 3'4", who is next up for Davidson. Team might not have the most successful season, but look for Bailey to break out and take a major jump in stats. I don't know if this was like directed with Riley coming on the show and Booby knew that, but like Davidson, North Carolina, Reed Bailey. What do you make of Reed Bailey, Riley?
I've never heard of Reed Bailey. Shout out Davidson though.
No, he's going to be good though. He's going to be good only because of this. He is a 6'8" forward wing named Reed Bailey that goes to Davidson. Like, is that not?
That's really all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Like, he's going to be good. I have not either heard or watched him yet, but I promise you that kid's going to be good. Like, because of his name, height, and where he goes to school, that's the prototypical Davidson good basketball player.
I feel like I might be letting fam down with my Bluffs persona that I don't have more Davidson connections, but it's only 40 minutes away from Charlotte. So it's like close to where I grew up. But yeah, I mean, I'll cheer for Davidson if they're good just to support North Carolina schools, but I can't say I'm locked into that roster.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when you wanted to start claiming the Lions after they got good, like you'll claim Davidson when they're good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, understood. All right, great job this week, comments. Seriously, you guys put a lot of effort into making sure the show went on this week. It's much appreciated. I genuinely believe we're sort of out here just like building the most fun, respectful, happy little support each other college basketball community there is. I've never stumbled into something like what we have right now, and it's in the early stages. So join the Discord if you want to join. It's hugely supportive to us. And Riley Davis even said that if we get to 100 people who join, he will join the Discord. So that's fantastic news. All right. Riley has 3 topics, I believe. We have I have no idea how much time, so we probably got to be quick on these. But Riley, what's our first topic of the day?
Yeah, I know we're looking at like 28 minutes till the hard stop. So might have to go rapid fire through this a little bit.
35, 36. I'll push it.
All right.
You're going to miss a flight for Riley Davis?
I'd do anything for Riley Davis.
All right, here we go.
First topic, AP poll was released this week. Officially makes it feel like the season's on the horizon. I'm getting more and more excited, but I wanted to pose this question to y'all because it feels like this happens every year where there is a team that starts out unranked and by December, like by the end of December, after all the big non-conference matchups, after all the big MTEs, tournaments, etc., you have someone who cracks the top 10. Like last year, it was UConn who just ran roughshod through the PK 85, found themselves probably ranked all the way up to 5 or something. Who do you think is the team that has the best shot to do that this year, to go from unranked to top 10 by the end of December?
So the bar is top 10. That's where we're going. Like they have to have a top 10 ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I think that's big here. Like if it was just like crack the top 25, I think I'd have a much more like likely different answer. But I'm looking for a team with some upside here. And I
Yeah,
don't
and I feel and like you mentioned it the other day, G, when you were talking the questions from the voice notes, scheduling works into that like bigly. Like if you can get a team that kind of has a softer non-conference and they can, I don't know, just like they were right outside the top 25, but then they just rip off like 11 straight wins, they're going to get consideration for top 10. So I'm kind of looking at that, but I also don't want to look up other teams' schedules. So I might just pick a team, but you can go first if you want, G.
Yeah, I don't love the upside of a lot of the teams in like the others receiving votes category. That's my problem here. Like I'm looking through, Wisconsin got the most outside the top 25. That's not a top 10 team ever. UCLA has way too many unknowns for me. Virginia is a low ceiling team to me. So I have two that are jumping out as potential right now, and I just gotta pick one. I'll go with my gut, I guess. I'm gonna go with Auburn. My alternative was Maryland, and I'll be honest, I'm an overreact to scrimmages guy. I don't love that Maryland only won their scrimmage by 4 points against Cincy. They played Cincinnati, and
Cincinnati's not bad though. They got a decent roster.
It was like Seamus Lukosius versus everybody.
DHS.
Yeah, like and there were no freshmen mentioned. I don't know. Like Jameer Young, I think Jameer Young had 26 in that game, and they won by 4 against Seamus. Like that scares me a little bit. I'm gonna go with Auburn, who is very unknown to me right now, but I've made it known that like I am generally very high on Auburn teams when they don't have expectations. And this is like the year after the year now where like last year no one knew what to expect. They didn't know how important Jabari Smith was. Turns out Jabari Smith was very important. But like the pieces that Auburn still has on this team to me matter. And nobody's acting like they do. Like Johnny Broome is very good. He's very productive. Katie Johnson is still on this roster. And I do think there's a case if you're buying the whole North Carolina jump after removing Caleb Love, wouldn't you buy the Auburn jump after removing Wendell Green too? He really hurt them a lot last season. Aiden Holloway is an instant upgrade, in my opinion. I think he's going to be one of the most fun players to watch in the country. And man, they added some things too. Like Denver Jones is a guy who's immediately going to make an impact. Like I know some people really like Baker Mazzara. So I think this is a deep team. The SEC is always kind of a mess, but I don't love the top of the SEC as much as I normally do. So I think Auburn has a chance to emerge. And yeah, of everybody that's not in the top 25, I think they have the highest upside.
Auburn was actually my choice as well. So look at us being on the same wavelength. But it's not just the roster. I'm with you on Aiden Holloway. I feel like he's sort of in that range that Bruce Pearl has found so much success with when it comes to freshmen. Like you think about someone like Isaac Okoro, Chuma Okiki, who are that like high 4-star, fringe 5-star status and are able to go into Auburn and have found success right away under Pearl. I think Aiden Holloway is the next one in line for that. But it's also not just the roster, it's their schedule too. I did like a little prep on this. They opened the season on November 7th at Baylor. And then they also get USC in like mid to late December, and they play Virginia Tech in there somewhere too. Like if those are 3 teams where, especially like if you can beat Baylor and USC, that automatically is going to, like if they beat Baylor in that first game, that's going to put them in the top 25 the next week. And if they're able to keep winning and can sort of punctuate that non-conference schedule with an emphatic win over USC, who might be like top 15 by then, I think they have a great chance to crack the top 10.
Yeah, they have winnable marquee games now that I'm looking at the schedule. That's a very good thing. Carl, who's your answer?
So I like those picks, and I got 2 teams here. One I just got to mention because I do it on every single podcast. Like I'm all on the Colorado Buffaloes train. You know I am. But they're also so close to the top 25 with the receiving votes. 1, I thought they should have been in it to start. 2, they're so close that I feel like they're in it. So I feel like that's cheating a little bit. But looking at the schedule, they do have a pretty soft schedule. And then they have the chance to end it with a win playing Miami. And I don't know where Miami will be by that time. They play December 10th at Barclays Center. They play Miami. So if that game right there is like Miami's pretty highly ranked, I think they could come into that game undefeated with some of the early season games they have. And that could be the one that maybe pushed them over the edge. But the other team that I'll give a shout to is Jerome Tang in the gang. I think that Kansas State has a chance to do it. I mean, obviously they start the season with probably the biggest game, I guess, that's on the opening night. They play USC. USC is ranked 21. They win that game, they probably find themselves in the top 25. Then they play, Bellarmine, South Dakota State, play at Providence, I believe, unless that's a neutral site. It doesn't say where that game is actually at. I feel like it's November 17th, so it might be a neutral site game. But they play Providence. And then the next marquee game would be they're playing Villanova December 5th. And I'm not a Villanova, buyer at all, but I think that would be like a marquee name noticing win. So they could find themselves with like one or two losses. They play really well. And this also, part of this and part of them being in the top 10 is me buying that Jerome Tang with some guys actually is just like a force to be reckoned with. Like you give him Tyler Perry, you give him Arthur Kaluma, and like that's enough. And he'll fill in around that and he'll make those guys really, really good. There's a lot riding on Kansas State and like what Kaluma does. I know Greg has mentioned it before that Kaluma actually might flourish with getting away from Creighton, but he also might crash and burn. But if he flourishes, and then you have Tyler Perry in the fold as well, who's going to be really, really good, I think. I think Kansas State could do some things, and they could make a push towards the top 10.
Yeah, I think it also works in Tang's favor that like he did it last year. Like voters are familiar with them making the run to the Elite Eight. They'll be like Tang is going to be in the spotlight because he's a charismatic dude who's going to have probably some viral moments anyway, which like I think that's probably going to help their perception as well to the voters. And one last team I wanted to give a shout to that could do it. This is probably the least likely to be able to pull this off, but if they do, I think it's an automatic vault into the top 10. That's Syracuse. I know we talked about them last week, how we love the backcourt of Judah Mintz, JJ Starling. If they go to Maui, they don't even need to win Maui. They just need to make the final game because that field is so loaded. If they can, I didn't look up which teams they play first, but if they can get to the final game and just keep it close, they're going to find themselves like in the 10 to 12 range the following week. Because people always overreact to Maui. But for good reason. Like it's teams that win Maui tend to perform well throughout the rest of the season and usually have a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament. So,
yeah. I was about to say I can't wait for the first episode on here when we react to Maui. It's gonna be scenes, and I plan on overreacting.
Maui's gonna be sick. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I know we talked about just Judah Mintz so much last episode, but I really feel like a big part of Syracuse's upside also comes down to is JJ Starling good or not? Like if JJ Starling is just very good, isn't that team incredible? Like no matter what else is around them, if Mintz and Starling are both nasty, they're going to be really good.
Also, Riley, to your point, they play Tennessee first. And I know a lot of people love Tennessee, but like,
that's a winnable game. That's a winnable game. You're coming.
That's a winnable basketball game.
Zakai Ziegler coming off the ACL, Santi Vescovi could be more worried about his frosted tips than actually getting buckets. Like
that might be a win. Orange teams should not be allowed to play other orange teams. I don't like that. It's too much orange. Also,
yeah, it is too much orange.
I'm convinced USC plays everyone. I feel like every team we've brought up and like, let's look at their schedule. It's like, well, they start the year with USC. Like, does USC just play every single team? And lastly, Car, on the Kansas State call out, we are finally gonna know at the end of the season if Arthur Kaluma is good or bad. And that's one of my 5 favorite things I'm looking forward to finding out. Like, he's either the best, worst player, or he's the worst, best player. It's one of the two. We're gonna figure it out. Great topic. Liked that. Riley, where are we going next?
All right. For topic number 2, I know that Sleepers is famously not a mid-major podcast, but unknown to maybe the casual fans, the non-sleepwalkers, like there is a lot of ball knowledge between these two fellas. I would consider myself with some ball knowledge as well. I'll throw myself in that, but I got to salute y'all. Like you have way more ball knowledge than probably the casuals, the haters, the Illinois fans who, follow those other shows more than they realize. So I want to talk a little bit about some mid-major coaches. And this stems from like one of the features in the almanac called the jump seat that profiles which like mid-major coaches are most likely to take a better job next season or to go up into the Power 5 or something. So I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on which coaches you're most looking forward to or to see how they do this year, who could make that jump. And even more specifically, who could you see making a jump to the Big Ten and thriving?
See, I think Sorry, you mind if I go first, G?
Yeah, I was gonna just say we're talking some major mids. Okay, go ahead, Cart.
Okay. I wouldn't say all that. So the first coach that comes to mind for like making the Big Ten jump is Dusty May, but I don't think that he actually does that. The coach that I would want or I could see making a jump, and this is a scenario that plays out in my head now. I don't want all of the purists from this team and all, because I know when I do say this, some people are going to comment back like he would never ever leave this school. He is this school. He'll do this. He'll do that. Is there not a scenario where like St. Mary's actually wins the WCC and they have a really good tournament run and people don't want to try to get Randy Bennett away from them? Like, I think Randy Bennett's a really good coach. I do. And I'm not doing the whole cop-out thing because I used to be like a Randy Bennett, like skeptic, I guess the word would be. Yeah. But over the last, I guess, year or two, I've like kind of really somewhat locked in on like those 11 o'clock Eastern St. Mary's games. And like he makes those teams look really, really good. And now he's starting to get like a recruiting type thing going on at St. Mary's. Like St. Mary's usually doesn't get 4-star guys or, top 150 guys. And in the last 2 years, they got Mahaney and then they got Ross this past season. So they're starting to do some things over there. I don't know necessarily where he would fit in coaching wise, like geographically, like if it would be like on the West Coast and what, coach would leave for him to come in. But I think Randy Bennett might be the next coach to make a jump to the higher level, especially coming off a really good season, possibly in the WCC.
Yeah, maybe Washington does a little pre-Big Ten merge, gets rid of Mike Hopkins and looks to a West Coast guy. I like that pick, Cart.
I can see that.
I think something about it just screams he's a lifer at St. Mary's.
Yeah, I kind of feel that too.
I feel that way too, but that's my scenario in a perfect world where it happens.
Okay. I respect that scenario. I mean, Dusty May is the obvious answer as far as like who could make their way to the Big Ten. I actually disagree with Cart. I think Dusty May's dream job is Indiana. And I think Mike Woodson's emergence makes this more difficult because if you had asked us 6 months ago, like, what's going to happen, I think we would have said, oh, Mike Woodson just leaves in a year and Dusty May gets that job. I 100% do believe Dusty is like waiting around for that a little bit instead of seriously looking at offers. But Mike Woodson's rolling right now, even though Boogie Flan looks Kentucky bound, he's rolling. Cart's making a face, but he's.
I was taking a selfie. Sorry.
He's getting some good recruits here. I'm not worried about Mike Woodson anymore. So maybe the Big Ten will miss their chance on Dusty May, but I think that is the correct answer objectively, even if it's the boring one. I'll give you a name that you guys are probably going to both just laugh at me for. I'm really excited to see what Richard Pitino does this year. I really am. So he's been at the level before. He was objectively horrible at Minnesota. But with that said, looking back on it, was he actually that bad at Minnesota? Because like it's Minnesota for one. Anyone who's been there has been absolutely awful other than years and years and years ago. And if you look at the seasons he had, I want to actually take you through this. His first year at Minnesota, he went 25-13, then had 2 horrible years or 2 down years. Then he went 24-10. Then he had another down year. Then he went 22-14 again. Like he had 3 separate, like away from each other, good seasons at Minnesota. And I think like, I know Minnesota fans grew tired of him, but I think if you gave Minnesota fans the option of having 3 good seasons out of 8 again, they would gladly scoop it up given where Ben Johnson has taken them. Look, they were awesome last year early in the season, and then they had a losing record in the Mountain West after that. But this was the team that was undefeated longer than anybody last year. And they bring their key pieces back. And I like this New Mexico team. Like they were my favorite team to bet on, favorite team to watch last season. My expectation for them is that they make the NCAA tournament this year, and they are very good. And we interviewed Pitino on After Dark last year. I loved him. Like he was making it sound like he's just in such a comfortable place in New Mexico. There's no expectations. Like they're packing the pit, he kept saying. But like, I also fully get the impression that the first time major that calls him, he would be on an overnight flight immediately. So, I selfishly, I would love to see Richard Pitino back in the Big Ten or somewhere else. I hate Rick Pitino. I love Richard Pitino.
Another good answer. I'll actually stay in the Mountain West for like the new Big Ten with the West Coast teams. Leon Rice is someone at Boise State who it just seems like every year they have some fourth or fifth year guy who explodes out of nowhere. Like last year it was his son, Max Rice, and he's back for, I think, year 5 or year 6. Boise State has a really good roster. Like the staff is excellent at developing players. And even with like Leon actually has both his sons on the teams this year, like there's some nepotism. I know the Big Ten loves nepotism, but if Boise State has another 25-win season, finds himself as like a 7 seed, again, I'm looking at both Washington and Oregon. Like, I don't know if Dana Altman's on the hot seat. I don't know what his contract is like or how Oregon fans feel about him. But, I mean, there are those comments he made. It's either like at the end of this past season or this summer that kind of said, like, if you're going to fire me, go ahead and fire me. To where I think both Oregon and Washington could be looking for a new coach ahead of joining the Big Ten. The second one would be more traditional Big Ten out in the Midwest. And it's actually another guy who loves some nepotism with Darian DeVries. I never know how to say his last name, over at Drake with Tucker DeVries, his son, who's one of the best, if like probably one of the 2 best mid-major players in the country. And another team that's had some success there, runs some really good offense, and has found their way into the NCAA tournament.
I like that club.
Drake is in Nebraska, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. Also, I would love the idea of like Max Rice playing a 6-year and going to play with his dad at like a bigger school.
Also, Drake is not in Nebraska. Drake is in Iowa.
I'm looking at like Nebraska just staying in state if they move on from Hoiberg.
I mean, like,
maybe it's Iowa. Maybe Iowa.
Wait, are you sure? Are you sure about that, Greg?
Yeah, Drake is in Iowa, but also Iowa is in Nebraska, so we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, Riley. Before you move to your third topic, I just want to let it be known because it came up. Rick Pitino, people need to start having an actual conversation with themselves. He ain't the guy you thought they were. This tweet will be fired off. This is Rick Pitino in 2023.
Why?
If you were wondering.
Why? Why is he not the guy?
Because the thing about the old days is they're the old days. Okay, like it doesn't always translate.
This
is the same guy that missed the tournament last year, right?
2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Lost to like Ryder or some Max.
He's at Iona.
Okay, yeah, and he had all the talent in the world, and he was the best team. He's the best shit smoking. And Sean Paul said they were going to go undefeated the whole regular season, and they got packed up in the quarterfinals by Ryder.
I mean, it should be impressive that he made it to the quarterfinals after Sean Paul cursed them.
It shouldn't have been impressive. He should have won it.
You of all people should know that if you have a great historic old coach, they can turn it back on at any given moment.
I'm just saying, I'm on pack watch.
Yeah, I will be retweeting that I'm going to have noties on and retweeting that the moment it hits the timeline because I'm praying on St. John's downfall. They're way too confident. They're chirping way too much for like a perennial NIT team.
Facts.
And again, their best gets this offseason were Ivy League transfers. Let that sink in. Jordan Dingle and Chris Ledlam.
There's levels to Ivy League transfers, though. Jordan Dingle's very good.
Well, we can't all be Paxton Wojcik, to be sure. So, I agree with you on that.
Jordan Dingle, not Jalen Llewellyn. Want to be clear on that. I can't believe
Jordan Dingle's a hooper. I admit that. I'll give him that.
I can't believe out of the 3 of us, I'm the one who has to defend Rick Pitino here. That's absurd. Like, come on, fellas.
Yeah, the man in the FBI hat.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
All right, let's close it. Topic 3. So I know the NBA is NBA start next week. I probably should have looked this up before I said this.
25th, I believe, is opening.
Okay, yeah, next week. Preseason's still been going on, and I just wanted to give you all a chance to wax poetic about our king Ausar and his preseason game last night, where he had like 18 points, 8 boards, I think probably 5 or 6 assists, and shot like 66 from the floor, 63% from 3. I'm claiming Ausar. I am famously a players guy when it comes to the NBA. I'm a longtime LeBron fan. I cheer for LeBron over any team. One day LeBron's going to retire, and I'm on watch for who the next up is. Ausar won me over in Summer League when he threw down he made the reverse alley-oop look effortless, and I've been in since then. So what are y'all thoughts on Ausar? What are the vibes overall about your Pistons as we begin this season? Could this be the year of Detroit? People are asking that too.
I'm going first, Cart. I'm sorry. I'm jumping right in. First of all, the moment you said it opens on October 25th, I knew that was wrong. I Googled it. It's October 24th, not a dates podcast. Detroit sports are back. That's primarily the Lions, but also the Tigers are making the playoffs next year. The Pistons are probably 2 years away, but I don't even care. They're going to be competitive and fun this year. And again, not a hockey guy, not a hockey podcast, so don't kill me. But the Wings, I believe, are looking all right now. We're back. Detroit sports are back. We waited a decade for this. We're back. We have fun young cores. We have talent. But the brightest of them all is Assar. I'm glad that you called this out. A star is born in Assar. He's incredible. People want to play the whole like overtime elite bullshit. That's the only reason anyone has any concerns about either of the Thompson twins. And everybody knows I'm a pro twins guy in general, across the board, in life and in basketball. Love a good set of twins. Okay. These two kids are absurd, though. Like in any other draft class, these kids should have gone 1 and 2, but we had an alien go first overall. But I'm highly confident that both of these kids are going to end up better than Brandon Miller. I won't say anything about Scoot because I'm a Scoot guy as well. But the thing with him is it's not like, oh, they're just freak athletes, because everybody knew that's the only thing they knew that they for sure had was freak athleticism, and people liked their passing. People said Amen's a better passer than Assar. They're both like 99th percentile passers. They're 99th percentile athletes. Most importantly, they're 99th percent IQ guys. Like I have watched every second of Ausar Thompson on a basketball court. He has never made the wrong play once. Like even when he does something wrong or the play doesn't work out, it's the right read every single time. The man's a basketball genius. And when you surround a basketball genius with Cade Cunningham, who's also a very high IQ player, like they're going to make each other's lives so much easier. In Summer League, when Assar was going off, everybody told us like, oh, he's probably still coming off the bench though. Like you got Bogdanovich, like we'll work him in slowly. Nah, the preseason's here and he's our second best player. And by the way, he's so good that we're already just giving up on Jaden Ivey. That's how good Assar Thompson. Like Jaden Ivey averaged like 23 and 6 for the final month of the season last year. And we have him coming off the bench because we don't need him, because Assar Thompson's that good. He also is hitting shots. I don't know where the narrative started that these kids can't shoot. They can shoot. Okay. Like they're not like JJ Redick, but they can shoot the basketball. This man banged a game tying 3 in his first preseason game. He's 4 for 8 from 3 the rest of the season. The jumper looks great. He's doing off the dribble stuff. I'm all in. I think he's Dwayne Wade 2.0. I said it 3 months ago. I've seen nothing that tells me different. He has the athleticism, the smoothness, and the brain of Dwayne Wade, and he's ours, and I can't wait.
Yeah, the kid's just straight up special. And I think Greg already mentioned it, but the IQ thing for me is just like beautiful to watch. As a self-proclaimed ball nollie savant and purist of the basketball game, though I love dogging them guys and just pointing at guys and be like, yeah, that boy can hoop. The way Assar plays the game and sees the game is special at such a young age, which is even crazy to me because like Greg brought up, everyone was saying, oh, OTE is just this glorified pickup runs. It's a sideshow. It's not real basketball. It's crazy to me that they get thrown into an NBA setting and they look like they're smarter than half the players on the court, and they're only 19. The only one wish that I would have, and I've already thought about bringing this up to Greg somehow, we have to get Amen on our team before they try to get Assar. Like eventually it's going to come to a crossroad at a point where one of the teams gets the other twin, and it has to be us. And I'm fully confident now that I would give up anybody on our team maybe for a man. I don't know about Cade. I love Cade, but I would give up anybody else. I know Greg would probably give up Cade, but Houston ain't giving up Jalen Green. They like him too much. His nails are too cute. They're not going to give him up. But we're willing to give up people on our team for Assar.
So what makes me
I'm
optimistic here
for Amen?
This is my read on it, and you can tell me I'm wrong. I don't get the sense that the Twins are strip club guys yet, at least, right? Like there's a certain type of guy who you're like, he's just never leaving Houston. Jalen Green, never leaving Houston. James Harden literally won't play basketball until he gets to Houston. Like there are certain archetypes that just belong there. I don't know that the Twins are that. Maybe they'll get there. They're still young. But I don't know. I just, it doesn't strike me that I think they're just like in the gym, lock me in the gym. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go watch tape, guys.
They
So
seem very wholesome.
yeah,
Like every interview, they just seem like, yeah, they're ball junkies who just like love their family, and we're making all the jokes about how they live together. It'll be the first time in their life they're not spending every second together. Like,
yeah.
there's literally nothing to love about the Thompson twins.
Yeah,
I get the
it's
sense these kids are going to go home and FaceTime each other after every single night. And like Assar's just going to be like, oh, yeah, this is so fun. Like, I love playing with Cade. Like, it's great. It's all basketball. And then Ahmed's like, well, my whole team is like out with little baby tonight. And I'm terrified. Like, that's I liked it.
No, I need that. And there, it's just like no like glitz and glamour either. Like, I don't know, to put it into a situation that Riley can relate to. Like last week when the Lions played the Bucks, like the Bucks were just excited to be there and wear their creamsicle jerseys.
They
and
were.
Like
it was
that, but Assar doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the glit, the glamour, the statement jerseys, the shoes, anything like that. He literally just wants to play basketball. And I love that. It's like no head case, nothing else going on around it. He's gonna be very, very special. And Detroit fans should be excited. It's a great time to be a Detroit sports fan. It really is. Greg already said it.
I'm gonna say it right now. Last thing, put a ball on it from my end. I want to go on record right now. I've seen enough. Assar Thompson is the best player on this team. Both now and long term. I know that Cade is still franchise guy. I get it. Let me just be clear before everybody else makes the pivot that I've already made. Assar is the franchise guy. Cade is the complimentary guy to Assar, and we will get there very quickly if we're not already there.
Hey, and I'll tie a bow on it as well, just by saying Assar might not be about the glitz and the glamour, but I'm about 2 weeks away from hopping on DHgate and ordering a teal throwback Assar jersey. So with that being said, let's move to one big thing. You want to give the little sponsorship read, Gregory?
Sure. This is one big thing presented by Bigby. Bigby is just a great home for coffee goers. And, Carter's been on the go. He's been in a canyon. He's been in a gorge. He's been in a crevasse in the last 4 days. And the common thread here is that he's been up at 5 a.m. Pacific time every single day. I got to imagine it's hard to climb a mountain when you haven't been caffeinated. So Bigby, that's where they come in. Cart, let's throw it to you, Mr. West Coast catching a flight in 10 minutes.
I got a little combination for you. Quick ones. One, West Coast time is goated, by the way. It is. I think it's goated. Games don't come on too late. I'm a big fan of it. Yes, I got to wake up early to do these podcasts, but honestly, maybe because I'm not adjusted yet, it's not as bad as you probably think. Two, you will never feel whiter in your life than when you're on a trail hike and like you're passing other people, because like there's just so much trail etiquette you don't know about. Like you just say like stupid quirky things like, oh, you're almost there, or go ahead, I need a break, or you just give a head nod. So many just quirky white things that happen along a trail that I was just completely unaware of. And then the third and the last thing is that as a grown person, or just as a person in general, or if you have kids, don't get on a plane smelling like ass. Like throw on some deodorant, do something. You have to be considerate to the fact that you're going to be with other people. I don't want to smell you. Other people don't want to smell you. You don't want to smell yourself. Wash your ass, put on some deodorant. Don't get on the plane smelling bad, because it's not you're affecting everybody else as well. Those are my three things.
Thank you for those three things. Harshly disagree on the West Coast time, but I'll let it slide. Riley, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I'm going to hit y'all with a little bit of neighborhood etiquette in the same realm of, speaking of whitest things, but also in the realm of that one time Carter called out his neighbors for not leaving their trash can and recycling out as decor. This is I know we are all dog men. We love people who have that dog in them, but we are also all dog owners. For me, I have like a 55-pound mutt. He's a rescue, got some pit bull in him, got some hound in him. He's got a lot of energy, but we have worked pretty tirelessly to train him, to follow us, to heel, to do all that good stuff. And it irks me when I'm walking my dog through the neighborhood and I see these tiny yappy dogs whose owners don't bother to train them because it's just like, oh, I can overpower them anyway. It still matters. Still train your dogs. I don't need your like tiny dog lunging at my pit bull. That's not a matchup any of us want to see. So just, take some time, get some treats, get whatever you need to train your dog. Maybe invest the money in a session. Promise it'll be worth it. Have good dog etiquette.
I like that.
Yeah, I echo that as well. That's a great one. All right, my one big thing presented by Bigby today. As you can see, the hat is back on. It's FBI mode. I was on this mode for about 4 years before we ever even had the podcast, back when the FBI crackdowns, when we said we have your playbook. That was me. I was out to make sure that all these cheating coaches get punished. They deserve to. We're not going to cheat. We're not going to stand idly by while young basketball fans and young football fans watch their idols, their stars, the people they look up to set a horrible example and just ruin the morals of this world. It's not okay. We needed more John Beelines in the world 4 years ago. We needed less Caliparis and Bill Selfs and all of that. So I want to give some credit to the FBI, first of all. Bill Self, take the banners down. Okay, my friend, we came down harsh on you there. You had to remove one banner. I know that's big. That's huge. Great job, FBI. I need more of that. So specifically, Jim Harbaugh, I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking you dead in the eyes, my friend. Okay, we're not hiring military personnel to spy on UTEP. Okay, we're not doing that. We're not getting Indiana's playbook. We're not doing that. That's not okay. We're out here to just have a fair, fun little football contest. That's what we're trying to do. And if you're not willing to do that, Jim, I'm going to have to personally make sure that the fullest extent of the law is delivered to you right now. Okay. And I fully expect Saturday to be a nice, fair, fun little day. Give so much credit to Michigan State football. I want to give them a ton of credit for playing this game. They didn't have to do that. Okay. They know what they're getting into. They're getting their hands in the muck from you, Jim. I'm looking at you personally. So clean this shit up. The FBI's after you. We will not stop until you're running things the fair way or you're out of your position as head coach of Michigan football. That's my one big thing.
I mean, that was special. Wait, can I one more thing I want to ask right here, Gregory. One thing you missed. The FBI did have their way at the Beeline family, just not the Beeline you spoke of. And Riley, I want to ask you something. Do you have an HOA in the community that you live in?
Yeah, but
Are you on the HOA?
Hell no.
Have you ever submitted a complaint to the HOA?
No, I'm very anti-HOA.
Okay, I had to know. Okay, let me go get my boarding pass, fellas. Great episode. We will be back Monday. Riley, I always love these Riley Fridays, and I appreciate you being flexible and doing this, being the new father you are. Greg, you're great. I say it every single episode. I love being here. I'm not going anywhere. You're going to have to kill me first. Sleepers out.
Goodbye, Riley. What's your one big thing, Carter?
My one big thing